Welcome in to Citrus Preps podcast along with Mike Deem. I'm Brett Knudsen. Another exciting week of high school football is upon us. Real quick, wanted to just give some updates on some other sports going on as well, Mike. It's been a good start to the year for the Lecanto swim teams. I know both of them are undefeated. The Citrus girls volleyball team had a big win over Crystal River the other night. They are now even in district play, so congratulations to them as well. We'll keep you updated on that throughout the season as it goes.
Cross country is going really well.
Cross country going well. The Lecanto boys team is on the verge, I think, of being ranked in the top 10 in the state. So best of luck to them as they continue. Obviously, a good year for Citrus as well. So and golf going on as well. We're getting close to, believe it or not, time for postseason in some of these sports. So it's upon us soon. But of course, we're talking high school football, and I guess the best way to describe it across the state, it's start over?
Yeah.
Because it's district play.
District time.
Yeah.
The couple games that, you played before, then like I said, had a loss against Crystal River, came back and won against Citrus, but kind of didn't affect them much. Now they start getting into this district play. Every loss is going to really accumulate and kind of put them further and further from the postseason.
Yeah, very interesting week as we get set for high school football. Slow week a little bit because we got a couple of district teams playing each other, so there's less games. Plus, Seven Rivers Christian is on their bye this week, so they sit at 1-2, but they are off this week. As we mentioned, district play gets underway, and as we look at 5A7 and get ready for what's going to take place the next 6 or 7 weeks in that district. Coming off of last year, it was a three-way tie at the top between Nature Coast, Hernando, and Citrus. And I would assume with what has happened the first couple weeks, when you start district play, if you're going to handicap this thing right now, Hernando and Nature Coast, and I think Crystal River have sort of become the pre-district favorites right now. Those three are the teams
before you even start their pre-district play. But
if that means anything.
But this is where you start getting into rivalry games, and you start to get into emotional games, and that can make a difference a lot of times. And then going to each other's house and playing the same team that you played for 20, 30 years. It makes a big difference. So there could be some outcomes here that may jungle up a little bit, but you're right. Those three teams right now are ahead of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And still work to be done and questions to be answered, even for the teams we mentioned. But, I think Lecanto, Central, and Weeki Wachee and Citrus, they head into district play, still trying to figure some things out. Yeah. And that's what sets up one of our first games coming up this week. It will be Lecanto at home as they take on Hernando. The Panthers coming off a bye week. Before that, they're coming off their first win of the season,
against Hudson.
And a lot of confidence that I think Coach Greg Harper and his kids needed.
Well, coming back and beating a Hudson team, that was pretty good. I mean, they lost the week before, but 35-31, and the way that they came back and won the game at the end really made a difference. And I think that going into the bye week, they got healthy, they got a lot of confidence coming up. So, and then leading into district play, that's a great start for them.
Yeah, they needed the confidence. I mean, it was a rough year a season ago. They had a lot of young kids playing, and I think Coach Harper talked about it. Those were the growing pains, and now you want to start reaping the rewards of all that. Well, you got to start winning some football games, and not only did they win, they won and they scored a lot of points on offense, which I think certainly gives them some confidence.
Yeah, especially the week before when they got blanked with Crescent City 21-0. So it's really about them getting the continuity of the game going, and I think Coach Harper kind of mentioned that before in one of your previous interviews, was that he said he's got to get some kind of gel going, and he's starting to see it. And also they had a couple injuries that kind of brought him down a little bit. So offensively, they're starting to gel a little bit. Defensively, we'll see what happens here. But I think that coming up into district play, you got to feel good for the kids, for Lecanto, saying, hey, we're coming off a win, we're coming off a bye week, we're healthy. See what we can do.
Yeah, and we'll hear from Coach Harper as he talks about what his team learned from the bye week, a win, and getting prepared for a tough Hernando team.
Oh, I think they're really good. I think they are, the top of the district, and we're going to have to play our best game to hang with those guys. They're definitely good.
It came at, or does it not really matter?
As much needed. Start of the year we had a couple of injuries that we needed to get over from. So last week was a good time to get some guys healed up and really get ready for the district run. Say it helps because that's what we got. We got to win. I think regardless, we need to understand we're not a finished product. And I do think the guys understand we got a lot of work to do, even if we got to win before that open week.
And that's how it sets up for Friday night. It is Hernando at Lecanto. First district game for both of these teams. Hernando off to that 3-0 start. The Leopards with a change in coaching staff, but not a change in philosophy, not a change in what they are doing. They are running the football. They are running the football well. They're averaging over 300 yards per game. And so that's where it starts and ends. If you're Lecanto, you got to stop them running the football.
Yeah, and they got two players, Israel Fields, senior, and David Branson. Fields, 61, carries for 442 yards, scored 8 TDs out of the 17 TDs they've scored as a team.
Yeah.
So you got to watch out for him. He's a little bit fast, scat back, can get outside and get on the edge quick. But two players, that you got to watch out for. So, and then they got a nice catcher, Isaiah Brown, 7 catches for 172 yards, and they've been beating up their opponents. I mean, doubled up on their score. 112 points scored versus 50 given up on them. So they're a team to really reckon with. And Lecanto's going to have their hands tied a little bit, but I still think that they can come out and they can put some things together offensively and hold them within a couple touchdowns there. They still can pretty much do it.
Yeah, I think they should feel confident. Confidence is a great thing. It can help you in a lot of football games. And as you mentioned, I think it's 4 kids for Hernando averaging over 4.5, almost 5 yards a carry, which tells me, as good as Fields is and as good as Hale Bronson is, tells me that the offensive line is doing a very, very good job, because no matter who you give the ball to, they're getting 4 and 5 yards a carry. They've got Tefelsky back at quarterback, not the best thrower in the world, not going to light it up, but he doesn't have to when they're running the football like they are. So that's the challenge for Lecanto. I don't think they want to get into the kind of track meet they had at Hudson a couple weeks ago. I don't think they want to do that. I think they want to keep it a low-scoring game. They found a way, and we've seen so far, Kopp, and he was one of the guys who had a big game for them a couple weeks ago. They're trying to, and Hunter Pitts as well. Those are the two. They're trying to get the ball in their hands, and they found ways to do that with some formation things for Lecanto. We'll see if they can do that again on Friday against Hernando.
Yeah, if you look at the head-to-head stuff, when Hernando's played Land O'Lakes, they beat him 48-14, and Lecanto won 96 on a short yardage and a smash mouth kind of a game. But that was the first game for Lecanto coming off of it. So I think Lecanto kind of wants to keep it in that closeness area, in a low scoring battle. If they can keep them off the board, it'll be tough, but I think they can do it.
Yeah, they're going to have to play very sound defensively. They're going to have to come up with some big plays. They're just going to have to stop the run. I mean, I think it's pretty simple. We'll see. I mean, like we talked about, Hernando hasn't really been challenged yet this year. They were maybe the surprise team a year ago, going all the way to a tie for the district championship, losing in the first round of the state playoffs. They do have a coaching change. Get them in a close game and see what happens. Yep. You absolutely never know when you do that. That's what you hope for. Take it down to the fourth quarter. We've seen Coach Harper's teams have done that in the past. They've had a lot of close games in the last few years, and I think they're hoping for the same coming up on Friday night. The other game in the county will be our
game of the week.
Game of the week. Friday night we'll be out at Citrus in Inverness as the Hurricanes get set to host Crystal River. All sorts of things you can talk about with this one. First, I guess let's just talk about the rivalry. You've been a part of it, so you're far better to talk about it than I. Just tell me about it.
It's just when you work up that week before and you're playing your fiercest rival, and at the time, when I played back in the day when they had leather helmets, but there's only 2 schools. I mean, there's only 2 schools. That was it. So you got, half the kids. All the kids. Everybody. And I think the same thing happens with Citrus and Crystal River playing in the youth leagues and the football leagues. They play against each other. They know each other. They cross boundaries. They move back and forth. But the issue is that how can you get motivated and be up for the game, but also keep your calm and make sure that you're remembering what to do during the game, because there's a lot of smack talking going back and forth. Right. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in the field that is extracurricular. You don't want to get involved in that. You want to keep calm and make sure you're doing your job and putting yourself to get in there for the team to make sure that they can get what they need to do done for the game.
Yeah,
it's very difficult.
Yeah, that's one of the things that you have to,
especially as a high school kid. I mean, really.
Yeah, you've got to realize that it's just another football game, even though it's not. It is, and you have to understand that. I was at the Crystal River game Friday night. Southlake in the fourth quarter was driving with a chance to win the game with under 2 minutes to go. There was a pass to one of their receivers. It skipped to him. He got mad, fired the ball down, got on a sportsmanlike penalty,
boom,
out of the game, 15-yard penalty, and then the interception to win it. And that's kind of a message, I think, for everybody. Yep. You can play with emotion, but it's got to be positive emotion. Don't cost your team yards.
That's both on the head coaches. That's Coach Varnador and Coach Lowry.
Be prepared.
Basically trying to prepare their kids and also at the same time keep them calm and measured, I guess is what I'm saying. You want to be able to go out there and play with emotion. That's this game. This football game is emotional. But at the same time, you want to be able to remember what you're supposed to do and not just go off and do your own thing. Yeah. Part of the team.
Yeah, penalties are always a big deal, and you never know when one can completely change a game, and you don't want that to happen if you're either head coach.
Yep.
As you get set for this one, obviously it's a matchup of two teams that are trending in opposite directions. We'll start with Citrus, 0-3 on the year. I know Coach Varnador would never make any excuses. From my perspective, they appear to be a team that if you go back to before the season even started, and we know what happened with the passing of one of their students and one of their football players, and Alec McMurray, and so I think that they are mentally and to some point physically worn out, and perhaps now that you've gone through the first 3 weeks, you can use this as a refresh. I know that's exactly what Coach Varnador is telling them. It's a new season. It's a new start. We were here a year ago, 0-2. Can they muster that up? That's the question, because they also have injuries on top of it. So it's been a difficult time, but like I said, no excuses, but I think it's wearing on them.
It is, and I think also you have to look at it from a standpoint of they don't have like last year they had a really explosive player, running back. I'm sorry if it failed me here, but they had his play was
Cody Russell was back there running the football.
Yep, and the issue is this year they don't really have that explosiveness that they can get there. They're grind them out. They're kind of a 3 yards cloud of the dust kind of a thing. Maybe they'll break one here and there, and Connor Bishop can toss one in the middle if they need to. But the issue is that they just got to stay within themselves. Citrus has got to be able to do what they do best. And that is run the ball, pound the ball, and keep possession and keep it away from Chris River, who has two of those explosive players.
Yeah, for Citrus, you just talked about what's their identity. They're averaging just about 100 yards per game on the ground. A year ago, it was just over 200 yards per game on the ground. So you cut your offensive production in half, and you see what happens. They struggled, didn't score the first game of the season, got a little confidence with a late score against Dunellen, maybe a little more against Westport. We'll have to see.
There, yeah.
And
they've only scored 3 touchdowns, so you're talking about that's not a lot of points to score in 3 games.
Yeah, they've got to get it going, and this is their head coach.
They do have Zaire Wilcox. I want to make sure.
Yeah, Zaire Wilcox, sophomore.
47 for 180 yards. That's the biggest player right now. That's going to be explosive. He's averaging 3.8 yards a carry, but still, that's not like when you go over to the other side of the ball. We'll talk about Chris River. We'll talk about DeAndre Parker and Jaden Williams, and we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, they're going to have to throw the ball to help set up the run a little bit. They're going to have to show that they can do it, and I'll start with Connor Bishop at quarterback. Here is Nate Varnador, the head coach for Citrus, talking about getting ready for this big rivalry game.
Going into a new season, district play, this is where it actually counts. Are we where I would have liked to have been? No, but unfortunately we're having to go through growing pains, and that's okay. We're seeing improvements each game, bit by bit. But with it being a rivalry game, it being Crystal River, our kids have come out with a new level of excitement. We've been in this position. Last year we were 0-2 going into this game, and we had some kids answer the call and step up, so we're hoping we can have that again this year.
This game is very important. It's the first district game. These games matter more than any other one, and the rivalry between Citrus and Crystal River has always been the biggest one in the county. And people from, they graduated like years ago are going to show up for this game, and they don't care if we're hurt. It doesn't matter. They want to see us win.
When you're 0-3, you always have to worry about confidence. But I'll tell you right now, Coach Lowry's not going to let his players walk into this game big-headed and cocky and sleep on us. It's still a rivalry. It's Crystal River Citrus. It's East versus West. It's about as heated as any rivalry you're ever going to see. So I'm not going to sit here and say, well, they're going to lay down and die. This isn't about that at all. This is for more than just district for us. This is county rivalry. So everybody's going to play up to a new level. It's going to be a playoff atmosphere.
Playoff atmosphere, and you never know, a playoff spot could be determined by this game, because you never know what's going to happen and how the district is going to play out. So obviously it's a big game, and Citrus is going to have to muster up something. As Coach Varnador said, they were in this position a year ago. They ended up winning 5 of 6 heading into the last game of the season and had a chance to make the postseason. So I'm sure that's one of the things he's talking about. You know, we can recapture this season, but we've got to get it done this week.
Well, you know, it's funny. He speaks from a lot of experience because he's been on both sides of this now.
Yes, he has.
So he's a Coach River coach, and he was a Citrus coach, so he knows exactly what he's talking about on this rivalry. And it's important, as he said, is that, you know, when you get up for this game, that's something that, you know, if you can't have a district championship, or you don't think you're going to compete for it in your mind, you always think you're going to compete for a district championship. But in your mind, you say, okay, maybe they're a little bit better us, but if we beat them, boy, do I got talking points the whole year.
You got talking points, and, you know, you have made it difficult for your rival to make the playoffs and get the county championship as well, so that there's a lot on the line. The other side of the coin is this Crystal River team.
Wow.
That
surprising?
Well,
yeah. Well, call that?
We're going to hear from Coach Lowry in a minute. He says no surprise.
Okay.
You know, but look, when you have a tough season like they had last year, and then you change coaches, you don't, I think, from the outside, expect things to go this well to start. And you give them credit. Confidence started to build in the second half of that first game against Dunellen. They found a way to win.
Definitely.
Week 2, they had a big lead. Westport kept it close. They found a way to win. Last week, they had a big lead. It was Southlake coming back, and then they come up with the defensive stand. And I just remember talking on the sidelines as Southlake is coming down. I said, just feels like somebody from Crystal River is going to make a play. You just feel like it, you know, and last year probably would have been the opposite feeling.
You're right.
They've got so much confidence, and part of that is what you mentioned earlier. The offense has found their identity, and Coach Lowry will talk about that too in a minute, and they're, make no bones about it, they tell you what they're
exactly.
It's our 2 guys.
Yep.
We're going to get them the ball, and you got to stop them. Yep.
1-20. And I got to say one thing, you know, we said this in, I think, the first podcast we did on this was that with Chris River, the change in coaching with Coach Lowry, the stability that he's bringing, and the background of knowing what this is about, and the emotion that he's going to put into it from a standpoint of, hey, I was here, I've done this. And that's a respect that players can say, hey, he's been here. He's not talking just outside of his mouth. So that's where they look at it. And I think that's a big deal to bring confidence to that team. And you're seeing them. They're also relying on the 1 and 2. But I got to say, McDaniel for quarterback, allowing DeAndre Parker to be that explosive player, to put him in different places.
Snaps and,
exactly.
You know,
so
and when McDaniel's called upon to make a pass, a big touchdown pass against Dunellen, he had a big touchdown pass against Southlake that went to Jaden Williams, and it went for 71 yards. So, I mean, it's those big 2, but they're asking that quarterback to come in, maybe throw a couple times and sit and watch, and then come back in, and it's working. The other part of it too is maybe we shouldn't be surprised. We touched on this a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
This is a talented group from Crystal River, especially the senior class, who's won a lot of football games. And remember, when they were sophomores a couple years ago, they made it to the state playoffs. Went down to River Ridge. We did that playoff game. Didn't work out like they wanted. And then maybe, you know, kind of a little step back last year. But this is a group that knows how to win.
Totally.
And now I think they're getting that feeling again. And that's hard to stop when it starts to roll. And
I like that ball rolling. The ball's going to roll.
Yeah, and they're confident. And here's head coach Cliff Rowley talking about this week and the great start that his team has had.
Everyone knows who it's against. Don't have to talk about. Our players know that we've got Citrus next week, and Citrus knows that they have Crystal River. It's one of the best things about high school football. It's a true crosstown rivalry where records mean nothing. We're 0-0 going into this football game. It's a great thing to be a part of a rivalry, Crystal River and Citrus.
Something that we need to really focus on and forget all the games that we've had before. Nope, just another football game. It's time to play smash mouth football. No, I just focus on what I need to do and watching film and getting ready for the next one. I mean, our confidence is up there, but we like to just, you know, make sure we stay focused and still play football.
there's the matchup, Crystal River, Citrus. It is our high school football game of the week. It will be live streamed on YouTube, so you can check it out come Friday night. It will get underway right about 7 o'clock. Reminder, there's where you can find us. YouTube is Citrus Preps. There we are on Twitter at Citrus Preps, Facebook as well, and Instagram. Getting a lot of feedback from folks on social media. We really do appreciate it. A lot of views, a lot of likes, and so
become a subscriber.
Yeah, subscribe,
notifications,
like,
and everything.
Yeah, we appreciate everything, and looking forward to Friday night out there in Inverness. Should be a great crowd. Should be a great night for football, and it will be an interesting game because it's a matchup of two teams that I think feel differently about themselves. But after 4 quarters, that could change.
Well, you saw both coaches. They know what this is about.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you can see it. So they've got to really get their game plan down. Now, we know what Coach Lowry's going to do. He's going to rely on number 1 and number 20. But that means that Citrus also knows that. Is Coach Wanador going to dial up something on that defense to slow them down? How is he going to to do it? But the biggest thing about that is that it is a rivalry. And what they said is that you can throw all the records out. It's 0-0, like he said, going into this game. And every kid knows that, and they know that if they can do this one thing, this one time, this one game, and put a W on their schedule, then they can go around and put their chest out for the rest of the year.
Yeah, they sure can. And interesting that it happens in the first week of district play.
Usually it's at the end.
Maybe it's at the end of the year, but this is what you have to do. I'm wondering maybe for Citrus if this does come at a really good time for them because, like I said, confidence is down. I think they're a little tired mentally and physically. They had some injuries. If you open up district play with, Weeki-Wachi or Brooksville Central, I know it's a district game, but it doesn't have that feel, and maybe you have a problem getting the kids, up. This is no problem.
Yeah, there is no problem.
And I mean, Coach Varnador, when I talked to him Monday at practice, said that this 0-3, we had a great Monday practice.
Yeah.
The kid,
they know.
And I think that makes a difference. So maybe this is that re-energy that they needed to get, and it will help because this is a huge game, I think, for Citrus and kind of where this season teeters for them. And
that's a great point.
Playing well or winning could change everything, and a loss you don't know.
When you get those rivalry games, Monday practice. Normally Monday practice, you're sore, you're trying to come out of things, but Monday practice on a rivalry game, you're dressed early and you're going out there getting ready.
Yeah, you're ready to go.
Yep.
It will be interesting. And for Crystal River, they just have the confidence. And the one thing I think Coach Lowry and his staff will have in their back pocket throughout this game and even going forward is whether they're ahead or behind, I think the kids will believe that they can continue to come back.
That's proven right there. He said that.
Yeah.
You get that time where you can come back. Every game that they played, you said it before, Brett, Dunn 2013 came down in the last play. Westport 35-32 came down in the last play. Southlake passed down to the last play, 45-40 win. So they know how to either win at the end by offensively or standing and putting a defensive front on there. So Crystal River is going to be coming in there confident that they can actually take Citrus on. But Citrus, again, as a rivalry game, this right here in the middle of your chest, that makes a huge difference in a rivalry game.
At some point this year, I think Crystal River is going to be challenged to the point where they're going to have to figure out a way to pass the football more effectively. And I think Coach Lowry knows that. The question is, will Citrus be able to do that? Can you stop, as you mentioned, Jaden Williams and DeAndre Parker, slow them down enough from the big plays? They're going to get some yards, but can you keep the big play away?
That's a good
and then can you, kind of put it on McDaniel a little bit to make some throws? That's going to happen at some point. Will Citrus be the team that does it?
Yeah, look for 8 men in the box, playing really gap football for Citrus to make sure that there's nothing outside and getting them on the edge, making sure the defensive ends are staying home. But then watch out for McDaniel. And if they had a great play against Dunellen when they had that
play
call and the fake with Miles Hampton right up the middle on a seam route and touchdown, 6 points. So you got to watch that. So they can do it. They don't do it a lot. But like Cliff Lowry said, there's a couple of times we'll keep them off balance on it just because we can do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it will be fascinating to see that matchup as the Citrus team. They're built on defense. We know that. Can they stop the two-headed monster from Crystal River? Because 4 touchdowns each in the last 2 games for Jaden Williams and DeAndre Parker.
Jaden Williams is averaging 8.7 a carry, and DeAndre Parker is averaging 8 yards a carry.
and both can catch the ball out of the backfield.
Yep.
We saw just a few seconds ago that long touchdown pass. So it's a difficult offense when they're going like they are. So it's going to be very interesting.
Can't wait.
Very much looking forward to that one. Again, that will be our game of the week on Friday night. Live streaming on YouTube will get underway just a hair before 7 o'clock. Bring you all of the exciting action. Feel free to chime in on YouTube. Ask any
promise
questions.
I won't be too excited. I want to,
No, you will. You will. But that's what we want. This is why you're doing what you do. So
I love it.
Should be a great crowd. Hopefully the weather stays away.
Yeah.
It's been an issue for everybody, every sport this season, and hopefully
we have a story about citrus.
Weather.
If you ever want to talk to us about it,
just a couple weeks ago, it was bad up there. Hopefully we don't repeat that. We get underway at 7 o'clock. Once again, that'll be our game of the week. Also, we'll keep an eye on the other game in the county. It will be Lecanto at home as they take on Hernando. So that'll do it for us this week for our high school football preview here on Citrus Preps Podcast. Make sure you keep tuned in to YouTube
Definitely.
for all the updated stories, Twitter with everything we have, and we look forward to seeing everybody Friday night on YouTube or at the stadiums around the year. Thanks for tuning in.